The Passionate Leader, because leadership without passion is just a title.
Meeting. We got a collapse in the garage. Get the squad back equipment in here. We got an I-beam gone to a firefighter.
Get that island urgent. Transmit a second along.
This is where titles end and leadership begins. Ask yourself, what happens when the fire service stops passing knowledge down on purpose? How many lessons, mistakes, near misses, and hard-earned experiences are walking out the bay doors every time a senior firefighter retires because nobody took the time to capture them? This week's guest didn't just see the problem, he decided to build something about it. From launching rockets and working alongside hotshot crews in the United States Air Force to serving communities in Texas, Nebraska, and beyond, Jorge Urrutia spent more than a decade living the fire service from multiple different perspectives, from firefighter, engineer, mentor, and builder. But what makes George different is that he refused to accept the excuse of the next generation will just have to figure it out. As the founder of stationiq, George is pushing the conversation forward about how technology, social media, and intentional mentorship can actually strengthen the fire service instead of distract it. He believes training should be accessible, leadership should be deliberate, and growth should never wait for that perfect moment. He's also somebody who understands balance, whether it's fitness, golf, family, therapy, or leaning on trusted mentors. George openly talks about the experience of taking care of yourself while pursuing excellence in this job. So ask yourself, are you truly preparing the next generation, or are we just hoping the future will figure it out when we're gone? Sit back. This is going to be a powerful conversation. And welcome to the show, George. How are you, my man?
Good, brother. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I'm super excited to get you on. I love what I've seen on social media, and it's refreshing to see others, who have the same kind of similarity, belief that technology and the power of social media really can help the fire service move forward. So, but I gave you the audience a quick overview of who you are. So, why don't we kind of dive into, what got you into the fire service, what you're passionate about, and just, tell us who you are, I suppose.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. So to begin the story, I enlisted as an active duty firefighter in the United States Air Force, and therefore, my journey began. Being stationed in California, and I'm sure, some of you viewers may not be familiar with, kind of the way the DoD operates in that fire realm. So they put on us, some multiple hats. Not only are we firefighters, we're, rescue techs, we're hazmat techs, and being specific to California, which was unique. We had the opportunity to work with, like SpaceX and ULA.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So yeah. So, we got to see some rockets launch. We sat on standby teams and stuff like that. Another unique thing we got to do was we had a dedicated hotshot crew. So during that time period, they would kind of send us off with them for a couple months, to really learn the trade and pick up on things like that. And they're on, so forth, and separated from the Air Force, was looking for a job. Got picked up in Texas, and from there, it kind of just grew. Little things I started noticing throughout, the journey of what it is today is how we retain knowledge and how experiences kind of get lost over time. Right. So moving from, San Angelo, Texas down to Corpus Christi, that kind of evolved into that. And then after Corpus Christi, I moved up to Omaha, which is where I am now. So the idea and the foundation of stationiq was always there. It just grew into what it is today.
Dude, that's so. I mean, was it always something that was kind of sitting in the back of your mind, like, man, there's something here. There's a void that I can fill. Is that sort of the premise behind
absolutely.
stationiq?
Yeah. So exactly that. Right. So it was one, seeing some of the older guys trying to recall, the trainings that they had from memory. And it was like,
Mm.
well, it may have, gone like this, or it may have been this way. And it was something, you're kind of sitting there and you're training and you're being the guy being trained. You're like, well, is it this way or is it not? You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
you're asking yourself, like, you tell me. And just, going through that, I was like, there has to be a way of doing this. And going through social media was kind of a big one for me. And I think that's
Mm.
where the fire service is now, is a lot of people tend to, go like, hey, what's the next big thing? Or what's trending now? And right now it's like leadership styles and,
Sure.
the direction of the fire service. And I asked myself, I go, why am I hopping onto social media to find out, the direction of a department or the fire service as a whole? Like, that shouldn't be a thing. That's not what, social media is built around. It's
Mm.
built around, views and glamour and, everything that surrounds that. And I think a lot of, creators nowadays get lost in that. They
Yeah,
get
yeah.
lost in losing the message behind, why they grew their platform.
Dude, that's huge. Very, very much. I've seen a lot of platforms that started off with, and when I launched this platform I'm not sure if even some of the viewers and listeners even know this. I was like, you know what, man, I'll start with some of the littler names, then I'll get some of the bigger names on. And, I had my Jesus, dude. When I first launched the podcast, I still have it on my computer saved. It's like my wish list, and I put them into tiers, like the local yokels, and then maybe some more regional guys, and then nationally known people, and and everything in between. And eventually I'm like, it doesn't. The way I look at it is a lot of the influence comes from the lower people that you don't know, the quieter voices, the
Yeah.
people, the movers and the shakers like yourself with Station IQ. Because I, again, through we owe a lot of our success to however algorithms want to work, and that's I have yet to learn how, at what time on what day is the best to release.
Mhm.
Or I used chat GPT one day, what is the best day to release a podcast, and it said Tuesdays or Wednesdays. I'm like, well, Tuesday is great, so I do Tuesdays, and then it's like by at 6 o'clock in the morning. But I'm like, you can choose any time to release a podcast. So we, you know, out of respect and paying homage to our firefighters that died on 9/11, I release it at 3:43 a.m. on Tuesdays every week, as long as I have
Oh,
an
that's
episode
awesome.
that's ready to go. Whether it hurts or aims towards success of the show, I truly don't care. I'm all about paying respect, and I've slowly realized that the impact of where people are is, it's not these giant stages and these fancy ballrooms. It really is it's the little, the 5 or 6 firehouse deep, conversations or small stuff. So that's really what I love about, and through the algorithms, you happen to pop across my algorithm. I think maybe on Instagram was the first one,
Mhm.
and I'm like, I love this shit. It's the short, punchy, you know, like we do with this, the ask yourselves, or the thought process, the what's the word I'm looking for? The provoking of conversation, and that's where I wanted to, we needed to get you on, because it was really huge. So so what back let's hit Station IQ for a while we're here. What the driving force we got to that, where do you see this thing, growing into in the next, 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, 12 years type thing? What's
Yes.
your overall goal?
Yeah. So overall goal right now is, building trust within our community and letting them know our true mission. And that mission is, hey, I want you to take the lessons that you're trying to share on social media, that, you're saying, this is my mission. This is okay. So don't put that glitz and glamour for the views. Come to Station IQ,
Mm.
make a training. We have this platform is awesome, man. So the way I designed it is we have classrooms, we have drills that you can build off of that, and then you have a discussion. So it's all built out perfectly for you, right?
Mm.
So you're saying, hey, let's talk about fireground tactics. So build that training room, right? You're talking specifically about fireground tactics, right? There's
Yeah.
no distraction to it. There's no keep scrolling, because what I've started to notice is you lose motivation with every scroll or with every link clicked, or with every paywall. You know what I mean?
Mm.
People hit that and they go, maybe next time, or maybe next week, or maybe when I get paid, or so on and so forth. And I go, no, knowledge shouldn't be hoarded, and knowledge should not
Mm.
be behind paywalls, right? Like, plain and simple. If
Yes.
I'm trying to be a better firefighter, better police officer, better paramedic, better EMT, wherever that realm is for you, you shouldn't have to go on and search for it. It should be readily available for you with no distractions. And that was my
Mm.
take on that.
Brother, I love it. So I shameless plug for us. Parent, sorry, a partner rather. I always say parent. I'm not sure why. A partner platform to the Passionate Leader is the First Do Project, and we're launching conferences up here in there. So I'm over in the Northeast. I'm in central New England, about 45 north of Boston, and we have our first conference coming up in October. And the group of us, they're all from my local firehouse, and we're putting this conference together to help raise funds to start a scholarship, because we saw that the financial barriers to people getting the information they need. Our firm belief is that the only constraint to somebody furthering themselves or getting information they need should be, all within, all upstairs in their own head, not with, not again to be like, oh, paydays come in, I'll do this, I'll do that. And it's so huge, because you see some areas want just astronomically high amounts of money to go to a conference, and sometimes it can be, just shy of $1,000 just to put your damn boots in the showroom, and you're not even in the classrooms at that point.
Right.
And like you said, man, hoarding information. And in the intro, I sort of whacked it a little bit with you know, when senior guys walk out the door, we lose, it's the years of service and institutional knowledge that we lost. And man, if there's a way that we can compile that, and I do not, I remember coming up on one of the episodes or one of the shows that I talked in the past, and it was, have this sit down conversation with the senior guy before you, even if it's, an informal, not even an exit interview in a sense of management to employee, but man, even just, junior firefighter, the senior firefighter that's walking out the door, like, hey man, what was that code again? Remember that time that the drain plugged in, the engine's bay? Like, what the hell was it that caused that? So we don't do it again. And, we run into it in our realm. So we are a combination department. So we have two full timers, and the rest are all paid on call. So if we get a call during the day, you're guaranteed the chief and myself will be there. But after that, we can go from, an alarm activation at 11:30 in the afternoon and have 25, 30 guys. And then at 12:45 that same day, 12:45 in the afternoon, you'll get four guys show up for a structure fire. It can be, you run the gamut. And with that sort of a demographic, there's just so many different guys that have always played different roles in our department that have just information that we just don't know about. And it's neat to see how some of our older, more tenured members are understanding that. And they're sort of like, it's almost like the oversharing aspect of the world. We're like, hey, so I'm going to show you because I saw this. And then they see somebody else like, hey, I'm going to show you. And it's amazing because now it's not, and sometimes we harbor information, or, not even intentionally. It's totally
Hmm.
accidental,
Hmm.
self included. There's a lot to be said about, you know, stuff that we think everybody knows. And it's like, oh, shoot. Yep. I didn't realize that. So I love the concept. So, how do we get people to you? Like, how do they kind of become part of Station IQ? Is it, getting into the discussion boards and all that stuff?
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty simple, actually, man. So right now we're in the development stages of our like official App Store app. So we'll be on the Apple App Store and Google Play Store
Okay.
here soon. Um, But separate to that, we also have the online platform, which is essentially the same thing, which is how we're running it currently. So you would just go to app.stationiq.co, And that right there is, our platform. So one of the cool things we're kind of doing right now is we're partnering with creators, businesses, and things, people that are really pushing that envelope forward. And one of the biggest ones we have right now is Front Seat Academy, and the things he's doing is just amazing. Not only that, but yep, there it is right there.
This is something new, man. So if we disconnect, stay patient and get back in. I've
Yeah,
never
no, yeah,
done
no
this.
worries. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's exactly that. So right there, you would just log in.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah. So the I don't know if you want to hit the create account right there, and I can talk a little bit about
Yeah,
that.
you keep talking. I'm going to see if I can do that because I got you a picture in picture. So all right,
Oh,
perfect.
gotcha. Okay, cool. So right there, so one of the things I noticed from Instagram specifically is, and not to cast a shadow or throw shade or anything like that, is a lot of creators want to hide behind a username.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Oh
And I
yeah, yeah,
understand
yeah.
that. I understand that there can be some repercussions coming from their department and so on and so forth. So I understand that. But the thing to me was you have such a big following and nobody really knows who you are, what experience you have, but yet, you're kind of throwing these things out there, being controversial sometimes. So
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, how do I develop something, that's crystal clear that, I see who you are, where you're from, and what gives you, that right to say what you're saying, essentially,
Mm.
to be valid. So that was the gist behind, putting your title and profession and department, because, that's, I feel like, when you go to conferences, you're wearing that, you're wearing your name, you're wearing where you're from, and so on and so forth. I just thought it'd be appropriate for, we're a community based platform, and I
Yeah,
feel like
yeah.
that should be shared.
Dude, and there's a lot of validity to that. And I, as somebody who uses, I don't want to say an alias and the passionate leader, that's just this was something that came up. I listened to podcasts a lot before I started our own, and
Mhm.
I was likely in the shower, man. This is when most of my best thinking happens. It seems to be when I'm
Amen. Yep.
in in
Amen.
in in a in a spot where I'm nowhere near paper or I shouldn't have electronics with me because they're going to get ruined. And it just kind of, the word hit, and I was like, wait, I'm big into leadership, passionate,
Mhm.
and just pop, it just hit right. But
Mhm.
there to that though, there, you're right. There's probably a few that might not even know what my actual first or last name is, and it's huge. There's a lot of platforms that go underneath a different, name, and you're like, well, who is that? Because
Who are you? Right. Right.
right, yeah, and it's, I mean, there it ties in the, own it, right? Be, if you're
Exactly.
going to say
It,
those things, don't hide behind stuff, or
right.
whatever
Right.
the
And it's
case
so funny
is.
because it sometimes what they post kind of conflicts, and you're
Mm.
kind of like, oh, that's funny. So yeah.
Dude, this is a cool. Yeah. So you hit it before. Yeah. Mike's been on the show before. He was, I'm looking through my notes right now. Mike El Hihi, him and I actually did 2 recordings,
Mhm.
and both were amazing. One we had to toss because there was some stuff going on that we kind of needed to make sure what we talked about was on the up and up. So we had to let it go. But dude, both episodes amazing. The
Yeah.
the
It's
only
great.
the only even half complaint I could ever give, and it's more of a selfish reason, is because he is out West Coast. We did it 8 o'clock his time, which was 11 o'clock my time. So it was,
Yikes.
but and dude, I'll tell you, man, nothing. If you ever run down the realm of wanting to kind of do sort of these things, I'll tell you, there's nothing that gets you more jazzed up. I seen you on, we've been on lives together on TikTok and stuff. There's running them and all that stuff. Once it's done, like my Sunday nights that we have, when I'm done, I probably don't fall asleep until maybe 12:30 because there's just it's so much energy that
Yeah.
that just keeps you jazzed up. Yeah, Mike was he was episodes 24 and 25. So he was a while back, but he I mean, amazing conversation with Mike. Him and I, man, he's got really good stuff, and I actually thought about him, and I hope he actually I'm going to send him this episode too. Was I loved what he had because where I'm at, I've never had to go through assessment centers or promotional processes that were, rigid and structured. It was usually, I've been on my department pretty much my whole professional career. Um, it was, there's a vacancy, you put your name in, you sat in front of the chiefs or the wards, and they chose who they felt was the best candidate. And congratulations, you're now an officer. I finally now have had to go through an assessment center. And I got to tell you, man, the whole time I'm going through, I'm like, now I know what Mike's getting people prepared for. It's
Yeah.
good stuff. And
Yeah.
it actually, it was the first time I've ever seen one. And I told the chief of that department, I'm like, I was a little skeptical going into it because it seemed a little bit much for what we were looking at, but it the the skill set that I was able to help hone on myself, and
Yeah.
everybody uses that, it's for there are some who, and I've been in this boat myself, in fact, writing a book about, not being the person chosen for jobs. I was always, for a while, of the thought process of, well, maybe I would have been a better candidate if those who, were just in it for the practice weren't there to skew, the scale or whatever the case is. It was a BS, thought process. I was spiraling. But anyway, it was really just a great opportunity to kind of, so you move from this oral board interview, and then you go to a practical over here, and then you have a written assessment over here, and then you have, and he's onto it, and I was able to grasp a better concept of it. And I love, it's unfortunate that we're literally on opposite ends of the country, so it's super hard for me to even try to get in person with him, because I'm actually looking at possibly trying to use our First Due project platform to do something like that, where it's just a mock assessment center, so that guys, purely for professional development. Like I said, we don't do a lot in this neck of the woods for that, aside from our full-time departments. So for our combination or our volunteer brothers and sisters, just the professional development of getting some interview time, getting them some practice as far as sitting in front of a board who's going to stare at you, with their collar brass all shined up and their face, stoic and staring off into your soul, and asking and asking questions and just make people feel uncomfortable and not even for that reason. It's just, you know, there's a lot, there's definitely, he's into a gap in our fire service that, similar to you, like there's just that giant
Yeah.
gap that it's like, we got to try to fill this gap.
Yeah.
And
100%.
now, so looking at this let's take a more of a leadership aspect. So one of the reasons, we started with the passionate leader was the concept of, there is a leadership gap. We always have been told, those are the chiefs in place or the officers in place, they're horrible, blah, blah, blah. And then a lot of people just follow in their footsteps. They're going to make changes. And then all of a sudden, these changes they wanted to make never happen and stuff like that. Um, it is, do we feel that sort of not gaining that institutional knowledge that you're trying to help capture and share might play into sort of that same gap? Or because it's a revolving cycle in leadership. I mean,
Yeah.
let's be real with the leadership platforms. And I'm kind of, sort of shooting my own self in the foot here. But we have so many damn leadership platforms. Why do we still have a
Mhm.
leadership problem? And I'm
Right.
wondering, maybe what you have might help kind of fix that, where we can fill that gap of a way to, save and bank away that institutional knowledge.
Yeah. So one thing to bounce off of that is, I believe people have different learning techniques, right? Some people might be, readers. Some people might be visual learners.
Mm,
Some people learn better through experience, and I think it's a conglomerate of all those things. As far as nailing that, a leadership problem that we currently have in the fire service, and I think, and I'm going to refer back to Mike here, and I think
yeah.
that's why his platform is so great. Is that if you feel called out by the things he's saying, then that what he's doing is exactly for you, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And I think it needs to be said, more and louder. Um, and you know, the way people promote, we can't control that. That stems
Sure.
from a department system, and I think that's why platforms like stationiq is great for that, because they're able to gain that information from a more professional setting than to see it being promoted through social media.
Mm,
And and I think, not every department's on social media, but I'm trying to separate the two, right? If you're
yeah.
looking for specific information and that's valid, that's from a reliable source, then you're going to come to Station IQ for that. You're not going to search through social media and say, oh, cool, we'll check this platform out. Because I believe that social media is great for certain things as far as getting your stuff out there, kind of advertising, putting out, who you are and stuff like that. I think it's meant for that. And to refer back to what I said earlier, is a lot of creators are using it now for their training platform, and it shouldn't be that way.
Mm, dude, spot on. I mean, and how many just don't vet the process sometimes?
Exactly.
It's the cool flashy thing. We actually, so this is our department's 200th anniversary this year. So the chief and I were just working on putting a banner outside of the firehouse. So we threw a 24 out front, and we're kind of, and we don't have a ladder truck because, well, we're a poor community and that's just how that works. So we're trying to do it from the ground ladders, and like we're working on getting the banner so it's square, and then we put it up and it's too far to the left, too far to the right. So finally I'm like, let's just, I call a local electrician who I know has, a simple Ford F-350 with a very, very short bucket on the back. And I'm like, let's just have him come out. He can put the damn thing in the center of the app bay, and we can literally shift it, and he's just moving a lever, and we're not having to come up and down
Yep. Yep.
and roll. And we got on the topic because the 24 was what we were using to crawl up and down. And we started talking about the current trend for this month's fitness from a lot of different people in the social networks is trying to raise a 24-footer without moving your feet or something like that. And
Oh yeah,
we
that's great. Yeah, the salty rookie. Yeah, dude.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
So
awesome.
I looked at her and I grabbed the ladder and I'm like, man, that it's sure looks pretty damn cool on on a video, but this I can't friggin' do it.
Hey,
And
I'll
it's
tell you what though, some of those people make it look, like insanely easy.
dude,
I don't know if you saw
without
the clip of
a
the
freaking
chief.
doubt.
I forget where it was, but yeah, he solo flipped a 35 footer and just
Yes.
made it look cake.
So I watched it and I was like, all right, look at the chief getting it. And then I went through the comments for a second and I saw that 35 foot, and I was like, wait a second. I go back and I look at it and I see the three flies. I'm like, oh damn, that's the big girl.
Yeah.
Like, holy.
He was not messing around.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way that shoulder wasn't bruised in the
Yeah,
next
no
couple
doubt.
of
No doubt.
days.
I would have said, cut it. I'm gonna go ice the shoulder.
Dude, I'm done. I'm done.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
No, I love it. So we talk, in the intro I brought it up, and I think you're hitting it as far as using technology to our advantage, social media platforms to our advantage. But do you feel that there is a certain line between people who are trying to use it for their advantage and just sort of trying to exploit it for their own personal growth?
Oh, 100%. I think that's what it is. And that's the glitz and glamour behind social media is what I was trying
Mm,
to nail at, right? Like, are you really, trying to portray this, hey, I'm trying to improve, whether it be fire department or police or EMS, that message is out there, but are you trying to get it for views and clicks and to gain, you know, profit from that? Like,
mm,
and there's no shade on that, right? There's different areas that you can get into on that,
sure.
but for me, it just seemed that way, and that's there's many facets to why Station IQ became Station IQ, and that was one that kind of was like, so I have to go through read your stuff. I like your stuff. This is awesome. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So we'll go through your profile. We'll kind of look at some of the stuff, and then you kind of just get lost on your true mission, right? You're like, oh well, I
Yeah.
was here for leadership. Now I'm looking at um, you know, whatever. And now you're clicking on their link to go through, their landing page and then to see who they are and stuff like that. I go, well, how can I just gather all that
Mm,
and put it and condense it so that way people don't get distracted, right? So now they're able to build out classes, and I'll put it on the screen here in a little bit what that looks like. And it's super, super simple. Throw this on if you can see it. So we made That's over here.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Some training tiles. So, whether it be we have kitchen table drills where you're able to throw up, create a room, um, and
Oh, I like that.
share it amongst, your crew just in the morning type stuff. Right. So I'll show you some of those.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
So it kind of goes into this is what it looks like. Kind of goes into we have a brief description that the
Okay.
user
Yep.
creates on what the room is, stuff like that. Once you enter that room, here's some of our scenarios that we built out.
Oh, all right, dude. I like
Yeah.
this.
So then, you click on it, and it gives a more visual perspective on, your incident.
Mm.
And these are our modules. So you would click that module and it'd play out.
Oh, brother, no way. Okay. That's now, is this stuff that any subscriber can just upload and, put into that, or do you kind
Yeah,
of sit
yeah,
back and
yeah. That was the original gist of it, and that's where we get into like saving that institutional knowledge.
mm,
I'm not a firm, believer that, hey, this person has the right answer and I only want you, to post on there.
yeah,
Like there's so much great information. And I feel that every, user deserves a different perspective on things.
yeah,
So it refers back to, hey, I may, say you go to a class, right? And you're like, hey, the class was great, but I just didn't really vibe with the instructor.
mm,
Right. And, another person who you went with, they're like, oh, yeah, I thought he was great. But you're not picking up as much information just because you didn't vibe for that, with that instructor, so on and so forth. So now you deserve a different perspective on it.
sure,
You know what I'm saying? So now
yeah,
it grows and widens, your perspective on, whether it be tactics, whether it be, EMS settings or command settings or leadership settings, obviously a big one, because
yeah,
where we're headed right now, I feel like it's not only a lack of sometimes experience, but knowledge,
yes, okay,
right?
yep,
So not always and knowing to have the right answer. So where can I go get that right answer? So I'm not going to
mm,
go through social media and scroll, hope to God that, a leadership post pops up.
yeah,
You know what I mean? No, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go seek it. Where do you go seek it? Where it's, a more formal setting. And that was the kind of gist behind, why we made Station IQ Station IQ.
I love. So I'll ask kind of a when I say a devil's advocate, I'm not trying to blow holes because this is great, and I am actually ashamed of myself to say right here a lot. Well, it's not live when people listen to it, but in front of you that I have not actually joined yet, but I will as soon as we're done.
Oh, yeah, no worries. Yeah, and that's okay too, because not a lot of people really understand what the platform is right now, and that's okay.
Sure. Yeah.
We're growing into that, and that's that. Honestly, brother, that's been like the hardest freaking battle. Is like
Yeah. Yeah.
I just saw this post. I don't know if you follow him. It's a Doctor Huegra, I believe his name was. Here, and I'll pull it. Daniel Huguera, and he just did one on firefighters are doom scrolling themselves to a mental health crisis. Literally
Oh,
yesterday. And I
damn.
was like, that is so interesting because yet you posted that on Instagram. And what are we doing? We're scrolling.
Oh, yeah.
Like the conundrum in that is insane.
Oh, yeah,
And I get
dude.
it. Like
Yep.
that's the only way that's the only way we know right now is to spread that information is, well, I got to go post it on Facebook or Instagram. But
Yes.
getting them, people to let go of the addiction of social media
Mm,
obviously is a tough battle, but yeah, this is our goal. I want people to get off social media and come to our platform.
okay.
That is our main goal, right?
Yeah.
And for them to
Yep.
finally see, like, oh, okay, cool. I can literally devise my own training area for
Mm,
my crew, you know, for my unit, because we are also not only fire, but we also do police, EMS, and
yeah.
I included emergency management. I wanted wellness. I wanted chiropractors on there, and we've partnered up with a few. But I wanted Station IQ to be the place you go to find the information that you need.
Mm,
You know, so
dude. I love it. Now I think have we started to, I mean, have you gathered enough, members of, that have kind of signed in as people in the station IQ, where you've sort of seen some things, uploaded to, and you're like, I don't think that's actually the proper. So I suppose what is the best way that you're going to be able to vet the process to make sure that, because I mean, I could go up and be like, yeah, the best way to be a leader is to scream and yell at people, and now
Yeah.
everybody in the world is going to know JP's speaking out of his backside. But
Right.
but I mean, like, how do we go at, I suppose that's the more, and it may be a challenge you may have not had a chance to even address yet. How do you kind of handle that one?
Yeah, so there's a few ways that we have, right? So one, as the admin on the actual platform, once you submit a class, there's an approval process.
Okay. Yep.
So the class officially doesn't go live until an admin approves it. So I'm able to go in there, kind of look at it, um, see if it's inappropriate. But then you're crossing the line of, is it just my perspective on things that it's
Mm,
appropriate,
sure.
or you know what I mean? So that's a little speed bump in the road. Also, I think with, the transparency that we have on the platform as far as putting, who you are and where you're from,
Yeah.
um, kind of, puts a little bit of a
I
block
like
to
that.
that. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Not only are you, you're putting yourself out there, but you're
Mm,
putting, your kind of your reputation on it too, and not in a bad way.
no.
It's just saying, hey, this is my take on it, and that's what what
Ooh,
these classes
yes.
are for. It's
Yep.
about perspective. This is the way I experienced it. This is the way that I see things, and that's okay, right? So we're still in the V1 of the platform. There's so many features that I have in line for it. Like there's so many. Like I want to build up to this, build up to this, build up to this. But as I'm coming to find out, like everything takes time, right? So
Is
being
it
patient about it.
is it not hard as hell to just want to go right for the throat?
Oh,
We've
insane. Yeah, insanely hard. Yeah, it's
a
insanely
we
difficult.
we've done it with, we're doing it with the fire and foliage symposium. It started off as a dream, I've put in to present at classes, and you know I'm okay with the, in for our regular listeners, they've heard it, but the I'm okay with the no's. That's no is, a rejection actually is an opportunity to go back, rebuild, refine. There
Right.
was something that obviously I put in that they didn't like. Maybe I didn't, maybe I was a little too artificial sounding, or it was too polished, whatever the case is. And
Yeah.
I've never gone back and actually reached out to the review committees of these conferences. But what really kind of flipped me was, you get the no, and you're like, okay, that's cool. They must have had some really good presenters. And then you
Mhm.
start, through social media, you see that, oh my God, so glad to be coming back to, conference XYZ for the fifth year in a row. And you're like, what are we doing? One of biggest pet peeves for me are echo chambers in the fire service, and it's
Yes.
the wash, rinse, repeat.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I get it. It'd be one thing. Let's just say, you were coming in, you're like, year one, you're going to teach part one of a, say, 3-part series. So I mean, it's something that I'm looking into as far as, long term with presenters is, okay, let's make it. Let's give a little bit this year. You come back next year. So because that does a couple of things. It guarantees, we're going to have, presenters. And it also generally means that people are going to come back the next year because they're going to want to get more from you. And it again, and by doing that, it feeds into our scholarship fund. So anyway, back to the short is, I I'm at the house, just kind of sitting there. I'm like, the hell with it. There's not a lot of conferences in New England. Let's do our own. And then I'm
Yeah.
like, all right, like, who's going to help me? And I have a lot. We have some amazing people at our firehouse, and amazing people, in my tight circle of friends. And we all met at one of our firefighters' houses, one of our lieutenants, and I kind of pitched the sale, and I'm like, but guys, this is ours. If I don't want this to become, your guys, absolute pain in the backside. If you guys are too busy, if you can't do it, XYZ. And they're like, JP, this is a great idea. And then, we wait. I was like, all right. So I'm thinking a couple of years down the road, and then all of a sudden, like, why can't we do it this year? And I'm like, well, I didn't think about this year, because so, and they've actually been, astronomical as sort of helping me keep it reined in a little bit, because I mean, big goals for us are, um I want, I want to be, I want the prestige or the, we have to be there, but not the giant stage, because nothing big happens, nothing good happens on a big stage, because you and I can make more positive impact if we're together on a stage in front of 25 people versus you and I in front of a stage of 2,500 people, because they're going to be like, the room's going to be so damn big that three-quarters of them can't even see us. We're going to be two little specks on front of a stage. They're going to have to look at, giant 55-inch TV screens just to see what we even look like. You're not making any damn bit of change in those people's lives. They're distracted because they're so far away. There's 100 people, to the left and the right of them, and, whatever the case is. So it's, small on purpose, but what we're taking the angle of is bringing families in, because everybody, you have kids, and one of the biggest drawbacks of doing these or going and attending conferences is, you're going to be losing, you're sacrificing time with family in order to do this. Do they support you? More than likely, yes, right? And generally, it's unequivocally 100%, blind faith. But I have seen marriages crumble, families fall apart, because firefighters don't have the ability to kind of read between the lines. Sometimes you're like, you know what? Yeah, I know mama said yes and the kids are okay with it, but it's really actually, it's chewing away at them behind, underneath. So what we're looking at actually doing is partnering up next year for one of the, because we're looking at doing at least 3 of these a year, is getting it at a place that has a water park so that the kids can go in and, while we're doing our ridiculous fireman stuff and doing our pomp and circumstance, they can throw on the bathing suits and go hang out in the water park all day. So that's kind of where we're headed. And again, I get big goals, but it's good to have a team behind me, because they're like small bites, right? Big elephant, little
Yep.
bites. We're
Right.
gonna get and dude, I am at where you are with not only that, but even with the passionate leader platform stuff. As far as trying to launch, my own circuit for classes, I'm like, yeah, there's a lot, there's so much that, it's the, you said it in your intro, don't wait for the perfect time. But I'm like, which I agree. But sometimes I'm like, there's also the wrong time too. And I'm like, like, yeah, like you
Yeah.
gotta, so, but dude, it's awesome. And I'm almost wondering, for, as you grow, cause you're going to, if, eventually getting some close peers to sort of be like your technical review committee. It's like, hey, this one sort of feels really weird.
Yeah.
What do leave you as the end all be all, because this is your baby, but then have that tech committee that's like, nah, George, I think it's all right. Or yeah, you're spot on. Or maybe, or, have those people that can kind of be that voice, that senior guy on your shoulder and be like, yeah, I think you're a little too, this is a little too close to home for you. Not specifically, but, for some, maybe it just strikes that core. Cause there's certain things that I'm super passionate about, right? That, that I'm like, oh, that was horrible. And somebody's like, you're not looking at it in the right light.
Hmm.
And, what I think is actually really cool is you have the platform will have that ability to have the conversations. And dude, that's where change happens. And I have seen so much growth with other platforms when people actually, instead of being like, oh, that person didn't really agree with me, block. Or that,
Right.
no, man, have that conversation. I have gained so many amazing friends and so much support from me being, me saying something where I'm talking out of my backside, and then being like, JP, you're talking out of your backside. I'm like, yeah, I guess I am. Or whatever. Or even stuff on on the socials where people will comment or ask a question. It's that dialogue, and that's what we're missing. And man, you're capitalizing on this concept of using technology for our advantage. And I I hope that there are some more tenured members who are very resistant to the use of technology, that might still have some time and some gas left in the tank, so to speak, that can that we can sway to understand the value. Because that's the, I mean, there's um by we we were on one the other night for a live, and somebody kind of went off on the, the guys don't listen, they don't this, they don't that. I go, we got to speak their lingo. And George,
Exactly.
you're doing it with this. This is speaking their language. Um, become, launch station IQ, so that actually becomes the search engine, instead of going to, your big named ones to Google. Oh, shit, I just dropped it, but there, there it is, right?
Whoops.
It is what it is. You know, using the search engines to do that. they just go right to you, and you'll have it categorized. So let's do vent today. We haven't done a vent prop or event training or even a table talk vent. Um, and it's using technology to its advantage. And it was somebody was like, yeah, the kids are always going to their this, to their that,
Mhm.
and to their phone. And I'm like, okay, so speak to them. Use that phone. Get that app. Get the text group going or whatever the case is. And I will say, so somebody, I was in an interview the other day to become a staff instructor here in the state, and one of the guys had said during it, he goes, cell phones are like the new cigarettes. During every break, everybody goes to their phone and they pull it out. I'm like, you know what? What a great analogy, because people, at least I feel from our neck of the woods, I'm seeing less and less people who actually do smoke cigarettes. So, also, I'll smoke my occasional cigar, whatever. It, doesn't really matter to me. Um, but it was when he said that, I'm like, dude, that's right. That's almost like our go-to, addiction during a break or a pause, where it's like, I could go for a smoke. And, for a lot of people, now myself included, what's going on my phone? I just
Right.
doom scroll. And dude, I'll have to look up that LinkedIn article, because there's a lot of, even the title hits really hard, because we'll just doom scroll. And I'm like, oh, that's cute. That's funny. Oh, somebody, an Amazon delivery guy eating shit as he drops the package off, or whatever the case is. Or,
Yeah, exactly.
watching delivery guys get excited when they see somebody's pet or whatever, or get nervous and like
Yeah.
hop fences.
Yeah.
And so but in it, that's all it is, man. And I like it. I think you definitely have something to go with it. And so I mean, how do you right now, because still active in the fire service, I assume, correct?
Yes, yeah. So no. So I am active, like engineer, right? I'm not active duty anymore, if that makes
Okay.
any sense. Yeah,
Yes.
I
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
know if that's what you were asking. Okay, yeah. But
So I mean, how does it look in your household when you're trying to balance being a dad, being, the founder of stationiq, to having to get to
and it's
work? Like,
it's
man,
it's a family affair now.
okay.
Honestly, it is. So my wife's been all in on this project with me, and she's been an amazing help with this. Whether it be help with social media and understanding how social media works. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, just post it." Again, with you, there's certain times for it, and I thought
Yeah.
how ridiculous it was to understand an algorithm, to get myself out there, and I was like, "It should be that way." Again, it referred back to, well, this is what I want to stay away from the algorithm, for as long as I can. Like,
Yeah.
I want it to be natural growth. I want it to be organic, and I want
Yeah.
our people seeing our stuff to understand, like, hey, we're trying to send a message of you do not need this anymore.
Mm.
So but yeah, work is it's a funny one, because when you're introducing something that you developed into your firehouse, I feel like it has a little bit of a twist to it, right? Um,
Yes. Yep.
and that's a conversation we can have too. Is when you start to develop something and say, "Hey, I have a better way," and you start to see how people are kind of set in their ways, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, okay, so you are the example of what I'm trying to change, and how can I adjust it to get you to understand, what I'm
Yeah.
my message, or, hey, check this out. What do you think of this?" And to refer back to your, technical group, I've had, there's a circle of friends here,
Amen, dude.
that
Yep.
have been yeah, that have been awesome, because I'm a huge critic of myself, and I'm sure we all are at times. But when it comes to something I'm putting out into the world, of course, I want it to be perfect. I want,
Mm.
people to see it, understand it, and get, "Oh, okay. Well," when it comes to psychological aspects, I want people to, grasp it right away, right? So if there's something that needs tweaking, or something that, I'm like, "No, it needs to be this way. It needs to be this way." And they've been a great, um, way to get some feedback and say, "Hey, this is good. This is good for now." But of course, I'm always 10 steps ahead of myself, and it needs to be this way. It needs to be perfect.
It's
Um,
hard.
it's
It
so difficult, so
it
difficult.
I think it's because of our it's the personality traits, and it's born
Yeah,
upon how and why we're in the fire service, as
exactly.
as a whole. We are, and we can use the social media aspect too, right? We are expecting answers before we even had questions had that fast
Mhm.
now. It used to be we were
Yep.
expecting answers immediately. Now it's literally becoming so fast. We expect the answers before the questions are even produced, type thing.
Mhm.
And dude, I love it. So when did you first launch the like all your pages and stuff like that? Like when was your like roughly what time?
So the official app didn't get launched till the beginning of January of this year.
Okay.
So since then, we've tweaked a lot. From what it is now was not what it was on day one. So and having some reliable sources to say, hey, maybe this would be great.
Mm.
And we're still working on that. Like I said, the partnerships that we've made and people that we've had currently or have on the platform are great. And we project that and we want people to say, hey, this would be better, or hey, maybe we should tweak that. We invite feedback. And the best way I can relate to is what I've learned from the fire service is exactly that. I don't have all the answers, right? And if I do something
Yeah.
wrong or something, that might injure or hurt, so I need to know,
Mm.
right? So
Yeah.
we invite that same mindset into the platform, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
So this is something I want to instill in uh, our users' mind is like this platform is for first responders, built by first responders. It's
Yes.
not built by some billionaire, from some search engine, right?
Right. Oh
Like
yeah.
we can develop this platform into something that fits all of our needs.
Mm. The concept of an app is that is so far like right. My mind
Mhm.
just is blown because one, I have no idea how to build one. So that aspect is pretty cool. So I mean, what was the idea for it to always be an app, or did you kind of think it would start as a website and it just morphed into the app?
Yeah, so the original idea was to make it into an app. And going into that, this is the first for me, right? I
Yeah.
was, learning technology and getting into this realm. Has I joke with my wife. I'm like, hey, I'm pretty much like an engineer. I'm pretty much a software engineer. But luckily, there's so many sources out there, you know, that I reached out. I do a lot of my stuff is through Upwork.
Okay.
I met with a developer, and he's been huge, man. Just guiding me on, hey, maybe taking this step this way, and it's developed to where we're at now.
That's so
So
cool.
yeah. So officially getting that app out has been priority one. So once that's out, we're now getting into the features and
Mm.
some of the cool stuff I want to do.
Dude, it's I love watching people get and it's one of the I we ask during the intake form, what makes you passionate, and I'll offer what makes me passionate is watching people just get excited about what they're doing.
Oh yeah.
It's I equate it to even nowadays when we get a new member join our fire department and their level of exuberance and enthusiasm just is contagious, and it's just so neat to see. So man, I cannot wait for this app to I mean, I don't want to hold you to a date, but do we know roughly when it might be happening? Like next year, next couple of weeks, months?
Oh,
What are you
next couple
thinking?
of months. Yeah, next couple of
Okay.
months, and that process is kind of out of our hands within the next
Okay.
couple of weeks. So essentially, we
Yep.
just submit our app, right? And Apple and Google kind of go through it, and they do their testing and stuff, and that
Sure.
is like a 1 to 2 week period.
Okay.
So after that, they say, "Hey, you guys are good. Our hands are clean to this." It's on there.
That's
So
so cool. Now, the website is up and active now, right?
correct. Yes.
One thing I have found, so for the listeners, and I can't tell you how to do it, but you can bookmark on an iPhone a website on your desktop or your wallpaper, I think is what they refer to it on a phone. Here I am not
Hmm.
sounding technical. And I've done it with a few websites that I go back to a lot, one of them being Blackstone Recipes for what it's worth.
Hmm.
But
Yep.
um, so that is something that I will be doing once I get in, is actually making that the quote app. It acts like an app, but it really isn't until it launches. So push people that way. That's what it's a bookmark is really essentially what it is.
Yeah.
And
And
I
funny
know
enough, yeah, we did it that way. So we actually made a video that way. Yeah.
no
So
shit.
yeah, dude, seriously. And this was like, early stages. So we pushed that out because we found that out, like you can do the bookmark and funny enough, that's, the website it's called a PWA. So it's basically a website that's designed as an app.
Okay.
So once you do that, that's literally the app, right?
All right.
But what we're building is more dedicated to like, notifications and
Yes.
just stuff
Yep.
like that.
No, dude, and I love the concept of a one-stop shop. Nothing is more annoying than having to use
Right.
this platform for that platform for this, and
Yeah.
getting the training and the conversation going and everything all within, the same, one app. I love it, man. I absolutely am so excited to see where this goes.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely, brother. We were so excited too. And yeah, if we're trying to put that out there, if you have a huge platform that you want, like I said, we offer partnerships, and what that partnership entails is we designed a training tile for you. And
okay.
essentially when our
Yep.
users click that link, it goes straight to your, whether you be your website or so on and so forth. It just is designed to be, again, that one-stop shop.
Mm. Man, George, I love it, dude. Is there anything that we didn't hit before we wrap it up for the day?
I don't think so.
I love it. I love it. This is great.
It's awesome, brother. I appreciate your
No,
enthusiasm.
yeah. I'm gonna give you our last question because I give it to
Okay,
everybody that we
sure.
do. So I guess it is really the only scripted question. So I may hung you out to dry on this one. I don't think you will. You're gonna give me a good answer. I know it. Somebody walks up to you, new firefighter, maybe even a seasoned firefighter, and says, "Hey, man, I want to start my leadership journey, or the road up to becoming an officer or promotion or even just future development in their lives." What is your raw and unadulterated advice to that firefighter from either your capacity as, in station IQ, or even,
Mhm.
even in the fire service? What is your raw and unadulterated advice for that firefighter?
Oh, that's a great question. Um, from a leadership standpoint, man, I'd ask them, I'd say, well, what's motivating you to do this? Because I feel like that is the truest form of leadership, is what's going on within you, not, whether it be for promotion or, financial aspects or things like that. It's doing it for the right reasons, right? So if they had a previous mentor or someone they looked up to, as a hero, um, gathering the best of that and taking that and establishing that into, who they want to be in the long term. Um, but just learning from their mistakes,
Mm.
I think, is a huge one. And taking feedback. Not everything, is personal.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have our sometimes we have our bad days, and I get it. But every day, you show up to work should not be a bad day. You should learn to take feedback, understand people's perspectives and where they come from,
Mm.
and just being open to new ideas and new ways of doing things. Just because we've always done it one way doesn't mean, we should continue doing it that same way.
Amen, dude. Spot. I love it. Wonderful. For viewers and listeners that want to reach out, have questions, help you, you know, fulfill your mission and become part of the growth, what is the best way for them to reach out to you?
Yeah, I mean, you could. It's funny enough, but social media, right?
Yeah.
So, so yeah, so Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. You could also email me, just first name dot last name at stationiq.co, or you can email support at stationiq.co. We're always readily available. That is our, focus point, is making sure our users and our guests and our platform always have, you know, um, a straight answer right away. Because I
Yep.
feel
Yep.
like, having that customer service aspects is a huge one. Um, but yeah, those are some of the ways you can get in contact.
Perfect. I will throw it in the show notes. And what I will do for those that like to watch the YouTube videos, I should say, the Webernets,
The Weber nets.
I will throw it up across the screen. We'll throw George's email address up there, a link to his website. Don't be a slouch. Go on to the website, become a subscriber, get on and become part of this movement. This is going to be something that you don't want to get stuck behind on, because it's always cooler to say that you were part of the movement and not run over by the movement and then you get picked up in the dust. George, man, thank you so much for spending time with us today. For our listeners, our viewers, thank you so much for listening to George and I ramble on. George has got some great stuff going on. Again, like he said, go hit him up across all the platforms, stationiq. He's got some amazing things. It's a really, really cool movement. Thank you for spending time on the Passionate Leader podcast. If something today hit, don't just sit on it, share it. Follow the Passionate Leader and stationiq across all platforms, and pull up a chair every Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on TikTok, where leadership meets the kitchen table and real talk drives real change. If you want bigger conversations and first access to exclusive offers, join us on Patreon and step into the inner circle. As always, and more importantly, be the kind of leader that someone else is praying for, the leader that you needed when you first joined the fire service. And no matter what comes your way, lead with passion, serve with humility, and leave no room for bottom feeders. Until we meet again, everybody, stay safe.